What up, everybody? Colton Core, back in with another video. This one will be another top 10 video. This one, though, will be special because I'm finally going back to addressing the movie side of my channel. I haven't really done that since my collection videos, I think back in 2018. I've been really focused on the gaming side, but I want to kind of touch back on the movie side of the channel. So this one will be a top 10 video. This one will be my top 10 movies of all time. I am no means a hardcore movie watcher. I've started getting into movies more and more, especially horror movies. But compared to a lot of other people on YouTube who've done top 10 movie lists, mine will be coming from more of a casual viewpoint. I am just a person who likes to watch movies, and if they're entertaining, I like them. I don't really delve into the cinematography and stuff like that. I don't know too much about that, so I'm not going to claim that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. This will be just a top 10 video from a casual perspective of movies I find that are really good and movies that have a nostalgic value to me or have a special place in movie history for me. So hope you guys will enjoy the video, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so coming in at number 10 is The Conjuring. This is a 2013 horror movie, and what really intrigued me about this movie when I saw it was that it was one of the first horror movies that I really got into and got me into the horror genre. It still probably is my favorite horror movie to date. This or either some of the Friday the 13th, just for a fun horror movie slasher flick to watch. But what really stood out about this one is the kind of atmosphere they create in this. It's not like a lot of other modern horror movies I've seen where they rely on like CGI jump effects and a lot of jump scares thrown into it. There are some in this movie, but it's not as plethora as a bunch of other movies out there. And the one thing I really liked about this is the two main characters in this, they play ghost detectives kind of thing. They're kind of like paranormal investigators, but they claim to be able to actually talk and identify with the demons and help them get rid of them. So they come in, they help this family that one of their kids has been possessed, and they're wondering kind of what's going on. So the main story of this is they go and help a family and deal with the possession they're having at their house. It kind of goes through the ordeals of how they set up to investigate what's going on with the house. Starts off with going through some of the like early sightings of it, and then kind of gets more explosive, and then they figure out how to deal with the investigation. Try not to spoil too much. But if you're looking for a horror movie, this is one of the more popular horror movies, so if you're into horror movies, you've probably already seen it. But it's definitely one of the ones that really got me into the horror genre, and that's why it's in the top 10. Alright, so next up is 12 Angry Men. This will probably be the most obscure due to how old it is movie on this list. 12 Angry Men is a 1957 crime drama, and it takes place in a courtroom, well, really the jury section of a courtroom. So the movie starts off with this kid going on trial for a murder, which is clearly in everybody's mind his fault. So he's getting charged for murder, and then it goes back to the jury. So this is a jury decision case. So those of you who don't know what a jury does, the jury is kind of a made-up group of civilians that are made to make a decision on a case. So they all have to come to a unanimous decision. And what this movie takes place and what this movie is about is one of the jurymen doesn't believe he's guilty and wants to prove it by going through a different bunch of tests and kind of pressuring viewpoints and stereotypes that people are making throughout this case to kind of crumble the case. So this movie's it's a shorter movie. I think it's only roughly an hour long, and it just takes place about the whole jury scene, and it's very well acted. The real reason it's on this list for me is that it helped start my love of law and really influenced where my schooling decisions went in terms of where my interests lied. And also, it's just a really solid movie, and I highly recommend everybody watch it if you're into crime dramas at all. Alright, so coming in at number 8 is probably, in terms of nostalgia value, the highest on this list, and that's Toy Story. In my opinion, I think it's the best out of the four Toy Stories out there. I've only seen 3 of them. I haven't really bothered to see the 4th one. But Toy Story, the original, is one of my favorite childhood movies. In my opinion, it's one of the best. It really blends the amount of adult humor with kid-friendly humor and makes it approachable by both groups. For those of you who haven't seen Toy Story, which I think most people know about it or have seen it, it's about toys that come to life when their owners aren't in view of them, and it's about the misadventures of them and the comedy, the characters. There's a lot of different characters. Talking Pig, Talking Potato Head, Rex is a T-Rex, and they all have really good interactions with each other. And from a comedy standpoint, there's a lot of different characters with really different personalities that come together really well, and that really makes the movie for me. The art style is really cool. The animation is really clean, still holds up today, and it's just a really, really solid movie. Alright, next up is Goodfellas. Goodfellas is a 1990 crime drama and follows the main character from his rise from a thug for a local mafia into being one of the top runners in the organization. The main draw for this movie is really the characters and the tone that they've created throughout this whole movie. It's very well acted. The music in it's great, and mainly the atmosphere that's created by all these characters and how it really puts you in that setting of the mafia time period is really good. And if you haven't seen this, I would highly recommend it if you're into any kind of crime dramas or mafia related movies. The only downside is it's long, but it's not long and boring. It's long and really good. Alright, so coming at number 6 is The Matrix. The first one, I have the 4-pack, but the first one's the best one by far. This is a sci-fi action movie, came out in 1999, and follows Neo, who's the main character, played by Keanu Reeves, as kind of his awakening, sort of so, into realizing that he's in a simulation. And the movie kind of follows him learning about the simulation and like how to fight the people that control the simulation, and kind of really what truly humanity has turned into and what the real world's like and what the simulation's like. It's a really, really good action movie. Keanu Reeves plays it really well. What really does this movie for me is I like the action shots that they always do in The Matrix. Even though the other Matrix movies aren't that good, their action stunt scenes and the action in the movies are always great. The difference between the first one and all the other ones is that the first one has a really good story as well. It has a lot of kind of twists and turns, and learning about the Matrix and the universe that they created is one of the best parts of this movie. So really, if you're into action movies, this is one of the must-have and must-watch ones. It's one of the most famous ones for a reason. Alright, so coming in at number 5 is another sci-fi action film. This one's a 2005 sci-fi action film, and that one is Inception. Inception is kind of one of the most kind of ones that got me thinking, was how I would describe it. It's a sci-fi action movie. Inception's movie is about people that can go inside people's minds and steal information from them, while also on the other end go inside people's minds to defend from people stealing that information and create kind of fortresses in their mind in order to keep their information safe. It follows Leonardo DiCaprio as the main character, and kind of follows how his kind of gang or group goes around stealing information, and mainly follows around one big contract that they get to help defend information and gather information from a certain group and a certain wealthy investor. All this is being done while they're bringing in Ellen Page, who plays one of the other main characters in this, into the fold. So she's kind of learning the ropes of how to go along and create these jobs and do these missions, which you're kind of learning along as well. The main thing for this movie is, one, the visual effects are awesome in this movie. If there's one, I would say probably just looking at it and like just watching all the stuff on screen, you can watch this over and over again and always be picking up new things. Another thing is the music in this. It's really well timed, and it has a lot of really cool scores throughout it that really add that like depth and elevate like how strong and big certain parts of the movie feel. Overall, if you're looking for a movie with some really good action scenes as well as gets you thinking, Inception is definitely one to look into. Alright, so coming at number 4 is Lord of the Rings: Two Towers. This is a 2002 fantasy action movie, and this one gets on my list mainly because Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite series of all time. And for this list, I kind of limited myself to only one of each series, just keep it interesting. But Two Towers, in my opinion, is the best one out of the 3. I know a lot of people like the third one, and some people like the first one as well. This one really just comes down to preference, but they're all amazing movies. So these movies, for those of you who don't know, are fantasy movies. They're based off books and directed by Peter Jackson. The reason why this is so high on my list is that really when I want to rewatch a series, there's really only three series that always come to mind for me. It's either Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, or the Harry Potter movies. And for me, Lord of the Rings, besides the Frodo and Sam parts, I don't like the whiny parts of them just bickering back and forth. But everything besides the part for me, this movie's amazing and perfect. The music is some of the best music in any movie ever. This and Star Wars to me have the best scores and time them at the best parts. They really add to the kind of overwhelming feeling you get when you see the orc army, and then that legendary score hits, the dun 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 dun. Like when that hits, that's nuts. And then each city has their own little theme to help you introduce to the city, so you know where you're going. And the overall size of all the action and fight scenes in this, and how well executed they are, really keeps you interested. The story's great. Has a lot of really cool fantasy elements to it, and this one specifically focuses on more the start of the main war, Sauron's army, and who are the main bad guys in this, and kind of the good guys, the rest of the realm, and follows Frodo and Sam as they go. I think most people into fantasy movies can say that this is one of the best fantasy series of all time, if not the best, and for me personally, 2 is my favorite. Alright, so coming in at number 3, this is probably the most recent movie on this list, and that's John Wick. This is a 2013 action movie starring Keanu Reeves. And for me, this movie just envelops fun, rewatchable action movie. The reason why I put this higher than any of the other John Wick movies or action movies that I've seen is it has a really good story along with it. So John Wick is a retired assassin, and it kind of follows how this mafia boss's son gets John Wick back into the game by aggravating him, and then he starts getting back in the game, getting all his connections back, and going after this mafia. The real selling point on this is really the action scenes and how well done they are, and also just how good Keanu Reeves is in playing action movies. He trains a lot for these, it's clear to see. He does some amazing acting and stunt work in this, and just alone, this is probably one of the most rewatchable movies for me, just because you can always put it on and just have a lot of fun watching this movie. Alright, next up, this will probably be the most interesting placement for most people, just because this movie is either loved or hated and has a really big cult following. So that is Napoleon Dynamite. This is a 2004 comedy movie. For me, why this gets so high on this list is, one, there's a lot of nostalgia with this. This is one of my favorite movies of all time and my favorite comedy movie of all time. Ever since it came out, I really love this movie. The main reason for this is that the genre that it's in, stupid comedy, is one of my favorites. Some other movies like that would be Big Lebowski or the Beavis and Butthead TV show, or some other ones that are really great. And the reason why I think this deserves number 2, one, it's my opinion, and I think this is just a great movie to rewatch all the time. And 2, I think stupid comedy is one of the hardest genres to get right, from what I've seen, because you gotta blend the stupid comedy, but it's also got to be really well written, because there's a certain way these jokes have to hit, and if they don't hit right, these types of movies fall apart really quick. For me, the characters in this are amazing. Napoleon Dynamite's great. Skip, Pedro, all of them, they all have their unique roles and their unique kind of 3 or 4 jokes, and they all work really well. It's just kind of one of those movies that you love it or you hate it, and I get why people don't like it, and I get why people love it. I'm just one of those people that love it. Alright, so coming in at number 1 is Star Wars, specifically Star Wars A New Hope, or just the original Star Wars. I debated a lot on which Star Wars movie I would put at number 1. I knew it was going to be a Star Wars movie because this is the most influential movie for me personally. Got me into video games, got me into movies, got me into like all the nerdy stuff that I'm into now, spawned from Star Wars. And for me, when I think of Star Wars, the movie that always sticks out to me is the original. The main scene that I always go to is when Luke's looking out over the sunset on Mos Eisley. But what's so amazing about this movie, and why it deserves number 1 on my list, is because in all the sci-fi movies I've seen, it's still the best movie. And out of the Star Wars movies, I think it holds up the best. I think it has the most memorable moments. It's a great story about Luke Skywalker learning about the Force. You learn a lot about the Force and the story behind the Force, and a lot about the background in this movie, which I really love when movies do that, especially in a big franchise like Star Wars. I think the action scenes are great, even though they're kind of dated compared to today's technology, but they still hold up really well. The story's really good. It's classic like coming of age mixed with fantasy war. The bad guys are really good. They have a good atmosphere to them, and the music in this, as I said with Lord of the Rings, really helps elevate this movie even farther by having some of the most famous movie scores of all time. For me, Star Wars is just the perfect blend of action and creating a world. The Star Wars world has taken the world by storm, and is really, again, one of the reasons why I am into gaming and all this at all. So that's why it deserves number one on my list. Alright, so that's my top 10 list. Thanks everybody for watching. I know it's not probably for a cinema expert the most optimal top 10 list, but it's my personal favorite as a casual movie watcher. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm definitely looking for new movies to watch, especially during the coronavirus time, so I'm sitting inside all the time, so got nothing else to do. So if you guys have any suggestions on movies to watch, I haven't watched that many, so definitely let me know. And definitely let me know what your guys' top 10s are as well. Thanks for watching. Just remember, everybody has some nerdiness at their core.